All right, three, two, one. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another great episode of Geeks Without Borders. My name is Gift Time Baylor, and of course, I'm here with my illustrious, yeah, things like going, co-host Jason, the Bray Train Bray, doing it big down in not the A because he's not in Australia, but over in the M. Malaysia,
Malaysia.
the Malaysia. How's it going,
And
my friend?
it's going very, very well. I believe someone's at the door. Is someone at the door?
Not at my door. That's your door.
JP?
No JP.
No JP.
Oh, now JP is on his way. What is
Knocking at the door like one of those children's programs.
happening?
Who's knocking at the door?
Who's knocking at my door right now? But yeah, we had a bunch of good shows that have come out. I'm trying to get my sound right. Had a bunch of great shows that came out. Obviously, we between finale for Lord of the Rings, finale for She-Hulk, a great excerpt for Andor, a big
Yeah.
punch for House of the Dragon. I mean,
Yep.
there's a lot to be able to run off of this one.
Yep. So while you're doing your sound and stuff, let's do the let's do the let's do the Ring of Power. Let's do the Ring of Power. So
Ring
what did
of Power.
you just finished it? I watched mine a couple of hours ago. What did you think?
Yes. So, I'm gonna go as a series first, then I'm gonna go as an episode since we can do this now. As a series, I think this was a beautiful series. This was a beautiful series. It was very poetic, very how do I say, very ethereal in a lot of its ways. I thought this was theater in ways. It production wise, top notch.
Absolutely.
Characters, I genuinely enjoyed and loved the characters.
Yeah.
Story wise, man, it left a little bit to be desired for me. Like, I enjoyed what I knew the story was going. I didn't like how it all ended, or even how it came together. Like, it just felt like constant build up and build up and build up and build up. And I'm like, okay, what is the moment that we're building up to? Which I guess is the creation of the Rings of Power. Though my mind thought that was going to be, the 7 rings that made up the freaking Lord of the Rings. But I guess that these are the progenitors to that. From an episode standpoint, I thought it was good. I like the fake out. I mean, a little bit of a confirmation of our theories, that of who was going to be Sauron, who's going to be Gandalf. I like that they tried to fake us out at the beginning. I definitely was like, first day gift was right, but then at the end it was like, nope, mid season gift was actually more correct.
Yes.
In it, and where it was like, okay, clearly, like, one of these two had to be the person that we're all worried about. Either the guy that came from the sky, which now leaves a whole slew of questions that I have about Gandalf in that situation, and then the Sauron situation, where it's like, I guess it leaves a whole slew of questions to be like, yo, how did you survive? How do you work? How do you function? How did you move between dimensions? Yada yada yada. But thought it was good. And then I think the revelation for her, and then I think we just went too long on building the rings. Like that. That's where it goes to, like, you guys are having fun with your money for the visuals, but not really advancing the story. Like, even the ending had it shot of the ring, spin around. Elrod has a scroll, looks like Galadriel. Galadriel's looking at the other guy. Guy looks back at Galadriel. and then we return to the same shot of the 3 rings spinning, and I'm like, why? Why did you go back to that shot again? This doesn't make sense.
Just making you sure you got the fact that it was 3 rings. Didn't want you to forget. Didn't want you to forget.
I still don't even understand how they are used to save the elves' lives, like how they're going to be used to maintain the trees and all that stuff. So it's like you made a visual spectacle. It is not as bad as an independent movie maker who's trying to be an auteur. But you I think you wasted a little bit of money on just trying to be visually stunning and not story stunning. So series wise, I'll still give it an 8. Should be a 9.5, but I'm gonna give it an 8, 7.5, maybe more so.
What do you think, JP?
Yeah. I can see the complaints that they're like, it's not true to the Silmarillion, the books. But I'm just enjoying the show for what it is, and because if you're gonna stay completely 100% true to the source material, you're not gonna be surprised anymore, and it's just gonna be, I know what's gonna happen. I know what's gonna happen, and it's not gonna be as fun. So like little twists make it fun. I always knew that stranger was Gandalf.
Gandalf.
It makes sense why he's so close to the hobbits. Like throughout the literature of Tolkien, and it confirms it. Like the thing he says, spoiler, the thing he says at the end, like just follow your nose.
Yeah, follow your nose. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
there's definitely a couple of callbacks in this episode.
I thought like the little twist they try to make out with the 3 evil wives.
Yes. The
3 witches of Macbeth or whatever. Yeah, Eminem and the 3 witches, 2 witches.
I thought that was pretty cool, but I agree with GIF. It's not. I can't put words to it. It's just not like.
I think it's a lot of it is because the direct connection to the other movie. I'm not even going to say books because I'm with you, JP. I don't think source material has to be provided point for point. I think that's, like you said, becomes very boring and predictable. So for me, it's always about how do we connect it back to the first movies? How do these all connect back to the movies that we are known in and that? So all this anticipation is answering or creating answers for what we already inevitably know will happen because we have the full story on the back end of it. So it's like when you're going through, like, I want you to get me to that point. I want to be visually appeased, of course, but I'm not going to be sold on this because it's visually appeasing, especially when I'm watching it on the small screen and not in a theater.
Yeah.
What about you, Jason?
Well, I said to you the first episode, one of the things that concerned me right from the get-go is that where the Lord of the Rings starts with a hobbit.
Yeah.
Or, 2 hobbits, maybe, Bilbo and Frodo. And they, even though they start, I'm talking about the movie here. It starts with this. It starts off with this big montage and storytelling, dumping this information. But then we go to this little hobbit in the little village. And then it brings it out from there. This series, right from episode 1, kind of starts with Galadriel, who is very intense girl. She's an elf, so she's kind of aloof. And so we're supposed to really get on board with her. And I think she's okay. Like, I don't hate Galadriel. I think I warmed up to her as the series went on. but I never felt close to Galadriel. And then there's Elrond there at the start. It was only when the Elrond meets the dwarfs that I begin to feel something towards him.
Right.
But the film, not long after meeting Galadriel, do they break off into these storylines. And I just, for the first 4 episodes, I just had to try to figure out if they connected at all.
Right.
People are asking questions like, is this old guy Gandalf? Is he Sauron? Oh, is this person Sauron? I wasn't thinking that at all. I was just trying to go, so Isildur, Numenor, you're the dwarf, wants to marry the chick. You're the half feet. And it wasn't until the episode 6 when they had created Mordor that I really felt it suddenly came together.
Centralized a lot more.
Yeah. Until then, I was just kind of watching this storyline. I was watching that storyline. I was watching that storyline. And no one was having, as I say this, about Andor, but no, everyone was just very serious, except for the dwarf and the half-wits. Everyone had a very serious, and the characters were very indistinguishable. I really couldn't tell if them apart. So once the streams met, then to me it came alive. And I didn't think that the final episode was groundbreaking either. It answered the questions it needed to answer. And I think it ticked the boxes that it needed to tick. There were scenes there where I was nodding off. I think there was farewell scenes between the half-wits, and even though I thought it was lovely, again, lovely music.
Great visuals, sets up a feeling.
Let's she's leaving, right? This is the whole Frodo leaving business. Like, you get that? And it just needed to kind of crack on a little bit.
I agree. But
having said that, I thought it came home solid enough. I came on solid that I do want to see the second season, but they've just got to get us more engaged and more. They needed to get. Someone needs to take Galadriel out and get drunk with her. Sing some songs on top of tables and have a good time. Loosen this poor girl up. And I think I've been a bit silly there, but what they definitely needed to do the whole series is what they finally did at the end. So they had to remind us why she was what she was. It was her brother.
Right.
The death of her. And I forgot. Because at one bit, someone turns around to her and says, why are you so intense? Why are you doing this? And I was thinking, oh, yeah, why are you? Oh, your brother. Oh, yeah. The guy at the start with the boat. I remember. And I shouldn't be like that. I should be saying,
I know. This is wild.
It's like Mad Max. It's your children and your wife. So that's my thoughts. Again, production values, the acting, everything is par excellence, but just the lack of engaging characters and just the fact that it went so wide so early until finally it dovetailed, and then it started, characters started meeting each other. They met in the Southlands. Things started happening then. That's where I thought that's where I give it a solid pass mark because of those last 3 episodes.
It wasn't until this show, because you mentioned it on the first time whenever we talked about the show, about the difference between Tolkien writing and George R.R. Martin writing.
Yeah.
And I did not realize how accurate you were until this show, which was really that first episode. And I was like, dang, you're right. It is the difference between law and art. The difference between, let me sing your roses and let me rock music and musicals.
One is poetry. One is a debate.
One is a blog. One is poetry.
Yeah.
So, but and that's the thing. It's what they played into. So, I like I said, I'll be happy for a second season, and I hope it has enough ratings that Amazon is like,
they've already done it.
Pay the extra $50 million again to.
Oh, they've got to. They've got to. They've just paid. They haven't got their money back yet.
No.
Yeah, they will. They will. I reckon, and I'll be watching. I'll be keen for it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they'll learn from the mistakes and kick on. So, anyway, we better keep moving because we still got. We got 4 more things to go.
All right, we'll move on to She-Hulk, the great She-Hulk. Let's go. This one This one, I'm good. I genuinely, I'm happy for it. So we'll start off.
You start
JP,
off.
what do you think on the show first? To kind of get it started after it's all said.
Well, I thought it was a fun episode. Like she literally broke the fourth wall, and she just rewrote, flipped the script, which was fun. It was new. It was, it's not your Marvel formula. It didn't follow the Marvel formula, which was great.
He broke
that
it.
was awesome. They broke it. They broke Kevin. That was awesome. Yeah, and she smashed Daredevil. So
I certainly did.
good on you, mate.
Certainly did.
Jason?
Yeah, that was terrible. That was. I was wondering going into this. I thought, how can you? I'll say it again. I've been like a broken record. No stakes, no character arc. So how do you go into a finale where you haven't really established really strong, consistent themes? You really haven't created a strong arc. You say every once in a while she's trying to be this and trying to be that, but the episodes don't run together. Like there's no continuity between the episodes of her trying to be the She-Hulk and this lawyer as well. So I was thinking, how do you do that? It's kind of like asking, how do you do the finale of Seinfeld? You guys probably don't remember this.
I remember it vividly.
How do you put together of Seinfeld? Was the show about nothing? No lessons are learned. They said it themselves. So that's why it was a failure, right? Because you couldn't do a finale to a movie when no one's changed for 9 seasons. As brilliant as that show was, right? And even when they tried to do it again on Curb Your Enthusiasm, they tried to do it again. It failed again because there's just no growth. There's no arc, right? So I was wondering going into the show how they're going to do that. So here we are. It starts off actually rather serious. It's got her in jail, and the same thing. And then it's got she gets out. And she's a bit numb. I thought, okay, here's a bit of gravity. We haven't seen this kind of gravity. There's a bit of a mood here. There seems to be something wrong. Then, of course, she goes down. One thing leads to another. She ends up going into that hall. And, of course, there's the Abomination doing his speech. And then in comes Titania. The guy injects himself. In comes Hulk. And she says, this is not what this show's about. And I immediately went, correct. Absolutely correct. That is not what this show is about. So show us what it's about. And I'll describe the next fourth wall breaking thing as a bit of a sugar rush because it was amusing at the time. Like it was curious to see. Like you just kept wanting to see what was going to happen more. Because she goes out into the Disney lot. She goes into the big NDA, which was funny, non-disclosure agreement. Huge joke because apparently it's like that. You've got to sign off all this stuff. And then I was in the writer's room, and then she goes and talks to Kevin, which we all know is. I was wondering like hell whether
are they going to really put Kevin there? Like
it's going to be 5 years, and of course they dodge it probably anyway. And then is this conversation?
He's not an actor. He said, "I'm not. I don't have time to be on your."
No,
camera.
I don't think. Let's get back to that idea later. I don't have time, right? By Kevin Feige. That's an interesting point you say. So anyway, and then there's that really cool. It's everything's kind of clever and cool, but it's a sugar rush, right? She goes back to it, and when she goes back into the story, she's there on the lawn, and there's everybody there. The sugar rush just drops, and you just think, what the hell was that all about? Like, what's that got to do with anything? She says, I think she says a couple of lines away at the end where she changes things and she tries to bring a point. But as far as the actual story, it did not really, to me, add anything to whatever story was trying to be told. It was fan service. It was gimmicky. And it was a sugar rush that as soon as you get out of it, you just went, well, the show finished, I just went, well, that was much to do about nothing. Like I just thought that was just cheap, gimmicky fan service. And I later heard, I think you probably heard of it if you listen to what's his name, Heavy Spoilers, that they rewrote that ending. That last episode got major rewrite, and they absolutely looked like it. It absolutely looked like they'd run out of ideas, or they painted themselves into a corner, and they just had to figure out a funny, cheating way to get out of it. I'm being cruel here, a bit cruel, but you know, where all other Marvel series have at least, as you know, you can talk about different series, at least they tick the boxes of storytelling arcs and stuff and giving us something. This one just said, can't do this. They put themselves into a hole that they couldn't get out of, and they just took this real cheap way out of it. And and I was like, oh, this is a low point for me for Marvel. This is well, it, you know, I said it with Thor: Love and Thunder. It felt like a third or fourth draft script. It didn't feel like a complete fleshed out script where there are ideas in Thor: Love and Thunder, lots of interesting ideas about children, responsibility, and mortality and death, and all, and none of it really comes together in a really satisfying way. This one had ideas in there, but it was not cooked up properly. It wasn't done properly, and you know, now we've had two, I think, pretty half-baked efforts, which are like, no, this is looking away. Now we've heard that Blade has been put off.
But that was just because of the director thing. And to be honest with you, it might actually be a good thing that it does, because it gives you time to cook. Or
there's the theory going around is Feige has stretched himself really far here. And now we're seeing a bit of a dip in quality. If you like, take a look at WandaVision, then take a look at the She-Hulk. It's out there. Like, people are now saying now I'm not saying the whole thing's falling apart, and I'm not even saying this was never going to happen, because to me, nothing's good forever. Like, you always have ups and downs in life. You know, your sporting team could never win forever. But I'm wondering, and that's why I said to you last week, Wakanda Forever, you know, there's big shoes to fill. This has got to bring it out, because I feel that with this She-Hulk, Thor: Love and Thunder, we've been seeing a bit of a dip. And now with this, I mean, this Blade thing is however it happened, someone said, this doesn't happen in Marvel. This happens in DC. This doesn't really happen in Marvel, because that was announced a long time ago that this Blade thing was happening. And so I'm kind of blown this open to be more than just to talk about the finale. But it's all pointing in concerning directions, and not the end of the world, but anyway, I'll throw it over to you, Gift.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna hit these piece by piece. So first off, with the season as a whole, with the series as a whole, I thought the series was successful. I keep hearing a lot of people go, we thought it was mid, it was inconsistent, and even for you saying there was no story arc, but for me, I'm like, I thought I saw the clear story arc in terms of the actual character, which was, I'm just trying to live my life. I don't want the responsibility of being anything but a lawyer. And all I want to do is just be a lawyer. And to the end where I'm going to be a lawyer, but my law actually has a purpose to it. And I also have to take the responsibility that I do have to be a hero sometimes in my actions. So, and I felt like that was consistent in the fact that we were trying to watch how she literally was basically moving from being an introvert lawyer to actually having to be proactive because of this situation that existed for her, something that took her out of her comfort zone. And we're constantly watching her having to be out, whether it was having to be on the news, having people attack her, having to deal with her friends and past friends at a wedding, having to now deal with this slew of different types of powered people around, and recognizing that she has to be a basically literal and figurative representation for them. while also simultaneously having to maintain and actually really uphold the fact that as a human being, she actually is valuable, not that she's only valuable because she's got power. Like, she didn't become worthy because she had powers. She was worthy and she happened to have powers. Because even before that, her worthiness was only based on the fact that her cousin was Hulk himself. So I felt like this arc in general was establish Jen Walters as a valuable person. She knows she's a valuable person, and she adds value also as She-Hulk because she gets to represent both sides equally. So I felt like that character arc ended up existing throughout it, and every little point was created. The other thing was, I felt this show was entire purpose was about creating segues for other IPs, which we know Marvel is known for doing that anyways. But this time we weren't relying on a post-credit scene to do it, which is something that people literally complained about before. Like, I think there's a whole series set up of what was happening in the show that didn't tell you about what was going on next if you took out the end credit scenes. So each movie just displaced in it of itself, but it didn't actually set up initially in the first two and a half phases. And so I felt like this show was like, no, what we're going to do is, because we have someone who has to represent powered people, we're going to have this actually also give us the eggs, not eggs where it's just people getting to see and fan service, but literally we are creating our branches so that we can continue to expand this Marvel universe more and more, because we need to have a reason why people need to either be afraid or not afraid, which we kind of saw the example in the previous episode with everyone getting scared. We need to understand why people are either fed up with power people, or maybe the Avengers are not going to be as popular because, you know, it's not the original 4, not the original 5. We need a reason to expand past this cast that is going to contract out, not even just 8, like they're going to be too expensive to be able to maintain over time. So we need to have a reason to open up this world for more people while also making it fun, while also still making it make sense to the reality that we're in. So it doesn't seem overly chaotic, but yeah, it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel chaotic. So I felt like this was one of those shows where I was like, yo, we need to pass through. And then, of course, we need to also set up this other villain subset that we have to now present for Quantumania, and we also need to present for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Captain America: New World Order, because now we have an underlying enemy on top of the overlying enemy of Kang, on top of what we have to do. Because remember, at the beginning of this phase, I had even said, and I think they're proving the fact, we have multiple layers of environments that we have to now effectively take into consideration. We have our ethereal range, we have our space range, we have our sky range, we have our earth range, and we have our earth in neighborhood range. Yeah, our street level, world level, space level, God level. You know, and I feel like, again, to some extent, and then of course our multi-dimensional level, which can be within that magical, somewhere in that magical between ethereal and space, somewhere around there. So it's this show needed to find a way to create the normality of existence while also setting these things up. So I felt like it did that. So when it came to how these episodes played out, yeah, we could have gone Titania, but I think, again, another reason they did this show was to break habits that people always thought. I think this was the first show that was purely created for the internet, created by the dialogue that the internet provided us. And I think it speaks whether people like it or not. The more people that dislike it perfectly emblemes how much people don't need to talk about what they know or don't know about how the Marvel universe should go, because they literally gave us everything that they always said. They stopped us on the habit. Remember, one of the things that was complained about for literally 4 shows straight, which obviously they described it within this episode, was penultimate episode was always the most character driven. You get the most context, you get the most information on the character, and it seems to be the most meaningful. And then the last episode is CGI battle. We did this multiple times down. Well, the penultimate episode was not the greatest character episode. It was simply another episode. And when we were about to do this CGI battle, which they're absolutely correct, it would have not made any sense for that guy to get Hulk powers like that. Whenever the entire concept that we just started off with was the Hulk blood could kill you unless you have some genetic predisposition to be able to handle those gammas. The guy doesn't have the genetic predisposition. He's just a guy, you know?
Just a dork.
Right. So for him to now be able to go dude bro into Hulk mode, which was, I'm not going to lie, I got physically ill whenever he started going like, yo, man, let's do this, bro. I'm like, is this what we're doing with Hulk? We want, like, you guys hate Professor Hulk? And if anybody accepts this guy, I'm punching him in the face.
Oh, well, we don't have to. He's
and I'm glad they killed it.
You got to take him out.
I'm absolutely ecstatic that they killed it quickly because it wouldn't have made sense. And then the Hulk coming down, though, and I'll be honest, I was a little actually disappointed with the Hulk appearing at all again, because now instead of me getting a wonder of what he's doing in Sakaar and then being revealed at the eventual World War Hulks and actually getting that explanation, now I have to be like, okay, well, now we're sandwiched between these two elements. And I am deathly afraid of getting moody, basically teenage baby Groot in Hulk form.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like, he just left, and now he has a teen son all of a sudden. Like, that was quick.
Yeah, I want that saved. Like, this is where I go. You save that for the movies. That's big screen stuff, not this one. You know, and so. To the effect of then coming to what the actual episode provided, I do think that I like the twist. The only issue that I had with it is that I wanted to know more, like rewind us back to you entering into the Incel Tavern, and instead of us just appearing outside and Ian is being arrested and you know, Abomination guy, Emil is, you know, doing his penance, and all of a sudden Daredevil drops in. I want to see you rewrite that product, almost very Matrix X, where since they were already going in that direction, I want to see that played. And that's the part where I go, like, that's the issue of doing a recent reshoot, because I want to see you actually get to that point. You stopped him from taking the Hulk blood. You, Josh, the guy who stole your blood, got his comeuppance. The Hulk doesn't need to exist in this. Abomination doesn't need to, you know, he becomes small and does a thing. But I want to see that play out after you've done all this talking. And then we can go to the outside and it all comes together and Daredevil appears and the picnic scene, which I actually like. I think this is one of the few times that we see Daredevil as happy, because after this, we kind of need to start to see him go back into moodiness. Again, he's been happy for too long. 2 episodes of happiness is more than I needed. You know, 1 episode was great. He smashed. He did everything he's supposed to. 2nd episode.
Walk of shame.
Exactly. Next, we need to go. So for me, I truly liked She-Hulk more than I liked Hawkeye. And Hawkeye is not a distant 4th or 5th to me, but I like She-Hulk more because I felt like it was literally more connective than Hawkeye. And also I don't like Kate Bishop. So it was just like I did it. It's not as good as Miss Marvel, but you know, and I'm saying bottom 2 shows, but that's not saying much because there's not that many shows. But like I thought that it did a good job in connecting all its pieces and being consistently inconsistent. Like Titania, I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't care about Titania. I didn't really want to know that much about Titania. Like, she feels like a throwaway villain, and I'm kind of happy that she's a throwaway villain. You know?
Yeah, I would love to have seen more of her. And I would even argue, along with other people, that most of those characters don't get it, except for Neil
I want
Bronski.
more of Pug and Mallory and her assist and
I could see a lot more of them, but I didn't feel like outside of Neil or Mia, I keep and Jan Walters, I didn't feel close to any of those characters at all. That's one of the big criticisms is that, yeah. But anyway, guys, we better move on.
Yep.
So our next, so what you got next for us?
Next up, we got Andor.
Well, now we're getting some quality television. Now we're getting some quality television. This was, well, I mean, this the thing with Andor really is these last 3 episodes have mirrored the first 3 episodes in that it's like a movie.
Yeah.
So after they escape from the home planet, they set up in episode 1, build it up to episode 2, deliver it on episode 3 in a major way. Again, the intensity was crazy.
Yes.
Yes. It wasn't even the most imaginative, creative heist. Like usually they've got lots of twists and turns. This one didn't have a lot of twists and turns.
Very straight to the point.
But you were just on edge at the whole time. Really wanted to see that fat bastard get shot, the beard, but he didn't. Even though he had his kid and his wife there, you kind of had the impression that if he did get shot, he'd be doing those guys a favor. They probably would enjoy it. But
berates his son, though.
Yeah, no, but it was
the ultimate racist colonizer. Like it's so good. I loved it. I was like, "Yo, show the colonizer." But again, it goes back to what I said at the beginning. The most interesting part of Andor to me is how the Empire runs. I literally enjoy the economics, the colonization, the insensitivity, the distrust amongst their peers. Like the Empire intrigues me in this show. The Rebellion is cool, quirky group of people.
I think they're more. I like this little band of. I like this band of people, and I like the betrayal at the end. Yeah, that showed. Hang on, we're just people. Yeah. And and full on good on Cassius or Cassia, whatever, for shooting that guy at the end.
Right.
Because it was the smart thing to do.
Yes.
And it did show that there are lots of grey. There's lots of shades of grey, including when you see some of the Empire guys, out there watching all the stars, and you go, whoa. I expect them to put on their 3D glasses at one point, go, whoa. Because they were right into it. They said they wanted to go out there, they wanted to watch it, and they were right into it. So it shows that there's shades of grey there between, I mean, everyone hates the Empire, they're the killer bureaucracy, they're all this stuff. But there's a couple of, someone pointed out that when they put the gun to the kid's head, when the rebels put the gun to the kid's head, that guy turns around, one of the Empire guys pulls the gun out to try to save the family. So, again, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's when the group actually breaks into it, they kind of take us further into that world.
Yeah.
But also I thought that the natives were interesting. I love the fact that, and I love the fact that when they came marching up, the first 2 or 3 of them were bright red hair, had like total ginger nuts. It's like,
they remind me of like Mongols or Kazakhs.
Kazakhs especially for me.
When you see them, they're definitely this kind of mixed race. At first, I thought they were all Scottish. Because they're all ginger. But then you see more, they look more like, people from Nepal. They were great.
Honestly, I was really happy. I would have been very upset. I would have been disappointed, not upset, if they had been able to speak the same language as the Empire people.
Yeah.
I was really happy that they spoke a different language, which is a sign of our times now, because in the past it wouldn't have ever happened. But now, so it created like why there would be the obvious dissent because they're colonizing their planet, and then of course the disdain that that group of people has for the Empire, even though they're going to it.
Yeah.
But again, bro, I love learning about the evil, like literally what makes the Empire evil. Like when they talked about, we allow them to come up to the temple, but we definitely set up things to manipulate them to lower their numbers. I love that because it makes it make sense. It's not your pure evil. It's your pure evil with purpose.
Yeah.
Like, I want your purpose. Even stealing the credit. Like, I love the idea that they had to steal credits from the Empire. One, now that I understand what credits actually are and the physical format of them.
Yeah.
But two, now it makes sense how the rebellion can build spaceships in numerous numbers to be able to create a war. It never made sense before. Why it's like, how are you able to afford? Like, how does this all work? Who's getting these materials? Like, it's the nitty gritty detail, but they didn't make it boring. And I'm just like, I adore this. This.
It's funny you mentioned the credits because what the show does really well is do something that again no one has done yet in the Star Wars universe. A very simple thing. So it explains what a credit is actually worth. So if you remember way back at the planet when Stellan Skarsgård meets Andor, he says this is for 40,000 credits, and you think, oh, the way they're acting, oh, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then you see them on the ship. They get away, and he says, "Look, I want you to do this job as a mercenary." He's 200,000, and you see his waist light up, and you're thinking, "Oh, okay, that's like $200,000 US dollars, or okay." And then when they park their asses down in that doctor's place, and the guy says there's 80 million credits there, you're going, "Oh, that's a lot of credits," because we've got a feel for what that's worth. That's a whole payload for a sector, and now you've got a tangible idea. And what my immediate thought, and one of the reasons I think that Cassius shot the guy, was that money is blood money now, and you're right, it's probably going to find its way into the rebellion's hands so they can buy things and set up the X-wing fighters and stuff. Yeah. But it's it's like I don't know if you've ever seen No Country for Old Men. Of course. When you steal money, that money. I think Cassian knew that, and that's why he shot him. Because first of all, he knew that he had no morals, and and what makes them distinct is this guy came out at one point. Cassian just said, "I'm doing this for money, right? I'm being honest. I'm doing this for." This guy lied the whole way through about a brother and all that shit, and then Cassian realized if me and this guy run off with this 80 million, he's gonna turn around and shoot me in the back. So let's just shoot this guy.
Let's shoot him out and just be done with it.
And then he walks in.
I love that.
It
was something that because even in my mind I was like, yo, this guy can't live. Like, and this is where I go back to whenever people talk about Disney and to worry about how far they go. I don't think this is not the Disney of the 90s where you had to maintain the brand of happy, friendly, total. Like, it still has to be family friendly-esque, but the line is now being more fuzzy because in the past that would have been he beats up the guy gets arrested, and everybody goes, but he lives.
Yeah.
And then maybe we see him again down the line after he betrays or something like that. But nothing happens to him unless it happens against a villain. But in this situation, the protagonist is making a logical and rational decision. And it is the correct decision for the greater good, even if it can be considered controversial vis-a-vis Han Solo shot first.
Greedo. Yeah. And then he says to the guy, the doctor, and what's her face? The waif. I keep calling her the waif because she was the waif in the Game of Thrones. I'm taking my 200,000 and going, which means he knows he'd rather have 200,000 and stay alive than get caught up in all that credit.
Yes.
Which could be because getting back to your point about the Empire, they're now alive, right?
Yeah.
All those bureaucrats, we're now going to see them in full swing. That's why it's only halfway through the series.
Yeah.
There's another 6 to go. Now we're going to see them just become like what in The Fugitive or the guy from Les Miserables. They're just going to, and old mate is going to find Cassius and he's because from the guy who's right now having breakfast with his mum, he's going to come back into it, and they're going to make a beeline for him, and those guys are going to have to figure out something. It's just warming up. That Heist, for all its pump up and all its stuff, is now just setting. It's lit the flame, and now things are going to explode. And it'd be interesting what happens to Stellan Skarsgård and Moth Moma, whatever her name is, redhead, another redhead, because I don't think they're going to be able to stay in.
No, they're not going to be able to maintain being just jewelers and a senator, because it's going to have to lead back to them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But this is the other thing that I want to point out, which I think is really good. And I guess we're reiterating the point, but remember whenever in Star Wars 1, the actual episode 1, and it was the first time that we learned about the metachlorians, and everyone was like, "Oh, why would you put a number on this? Like metachlorians, now just the ethereal." But you needed metachlorians to appreciate credits, because I don't think, because even think about it, if we take it as the Empire for these first 6 episodes, the Empire is a moving entity with a magical being.
Yeah.
Now, I can look at the Empire. I can be like, I could see how people would be like, I don't understand. I don't know who Darth Vader is. And 2, I don't know if what they do is real, because this isn't our normal day-to-day. Like, I got to pay. It's physical. It's tangible. The religious aspect, it's still like,
well, Vader's name hasn't even been mentioned,
right?
And stormtroopers were only mentioned for the first time, I think.
Exactly, and we're seeing the initial aspect of the stormtroopers that left. So now it actually negates what Episode 9 gave to us, where we were like, "Oh, John Boyega's character was an awakening of a stormtrooper." No, we have a history of stormtroopers leaving stormtroopers now. And so it's like, them shitting on Episode 9 and 10 is hilarious with that. I mean, I don't think we realize how much they shit on that entire movie, because that whole thing, his whole role was he was one of the first to separate.
Was he one of the first, was he?
We never heard of a stormtrooper leaving.
No, that's true. But
But this is set before everything. This is before A New Hope. So this is this is 100 years, 80 years of existence.
Well, I think they've broken canon there as well, because remember, the clones, the first couple of generations of stormtroopers are all clones. They were clones from about Episode 2, 3, but I think George Lucas changed the voices of the stormtroopers in Star Wars 4, 5, and 6, so that they were still clones. And now we've got someone who's non-cloning. Yeah, that's interesting.
Exactly. So it's these shakeups that I'm enjoying. So the point that I was making is mitochondrians had to walk so credits could run, so we can appreciate the desegmentation of what makes this empire, and then maybe make it make sense why there was a second empire for 7, 8, 9. And I meant Episode 7, not 9. Episode 7, 8, 9. Whenever
we know what you meant.
Yeah.
Yep. JP, did you want anything?
Well, I just thought that. I mean, I agree with everything. I'm enjoying it, like a slow heist movie. I agree that he had to kill the other guy, and we're moving away from like the Disney formulas. I think everything's great, and I'm just excited for more. Right. And the
only negative I see from this is the fact that Kathleen Kennedy might be able to keep her job a little bit longer.
Oh, long live Kathleen Kennedy! Right, let's quickly move on. House of Dragons. The king is dead.
House of Dragons. Well, I mean,
House of
the king is dead at the end, but we got so much pandering in the middle. So much pandering. I mean, look, the King's leprosy limp walk. I mean, look, Patty Wellington definitely deserves an Emmy for this.
Patty Wellington, is that his name now?
like whatever his name, Patty, whatever
Considine is his name. Colin Wellington.
Yeah.
Colin Wellington.
Well, either way, he deserves an Emmy because one, at the beginning of this season, and I know we're not done. I think we still got 2 more episodes left.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of this season, the first thought was, oh, King Viserys is a simp. He's a weak king, and he'll be dead soon enough. Right? He's going to get the Ned Stark situation.
Oh, yes. We all thought that.
8 episodes later, this man has been a beast. I'm like, this guy is a good king. He is doing everything in his power to keep everybody together. The mere fact that this has not run completely off the rails until this point speaks well, regardless of whether he might be blinding himself to certain information. He says, I'm going to maintain the entire main purpose of what we're doing, even as my body falls apart. Yeah. This man, and also he's a good father. Like, I mean, to his daughter, his other sons are assholes, but his daughters, Rhaenyra, like the fact that this man said, I'm going to walk into the throne, support my daughter's movement as into power, not take my pain medicine and deal with it and get on that sharp ass throne that probably will kill him more than the
snap him in, carve him in half at the right, carve him in half. He's so weak. Yeah,
man.
I was enjoying seeing Otto Hightower like, oh fuck, my plan's not gonna work.
Yes.
Oh, no,
fuck you, Otto.
I have to admit, I've moved across to Team Black in the last, I last couple episodes. I was thinking, I always was very sympathetic to Queen Alicent, and watching her kids to grow up to be just right little shits, and letting them rape the bloody girl, and then and the other kids at least seem half decent, half normal.
Yeah.
And mind you, what's the second kid? Aemon looks like
Aemon's a psychopath, but I'm not gonna lie. I like Aemon. He's a psychopath. He's got trouble written all over him, and he looks like the singer from Dead or Alive.
He's like a young Daemon Targaryen.
He's ready to get on and start singing "You Spin Me Right Round" because he's got the thing on his eye. I'm surprised no one has said it. He looks just like the guy from Dead or Alive. I'm waiting for him to get up and start singing "You Spin Me Right Round."
Nobody remembers him because it's from the 80s and early 90s.
Everything good in this world came from the 80s. Actually, that's not true. I came from the 70s. But I barely remember the 70s. You Spin Me Right Round, baby. He looks like and when he faces off against Matt Damon, you just think 2 peas in a pod.
But they are the exact same people.
They even look the same. And just really put the eye patch on, because sometimes I think, gee, they look alike as well. If it wasn't an eye patch, but they're going to run into each. Those two are just going to go hammer and tong.
Absolutely.
That's going to be, and it's interesting in the show how the love between the 2 girls, Alicent and Rhaenyra, is there. It's still there, and it's there during the dinner, and it's real, and they do admire each other, even beyond all their fears and all their.
Right.
But the kids are just ready to go feral again.
Yeah,
they're just. What those 2 girls have planted in their children's lives growing up is not the respect. It's been the fear. It's been the hatred.
Set up from the beginning.
And and even when they fight and they cut each other's eyes out and they steal each other's dragons, all they're doing is just manifesting, building that up. And now Alicent has my take on it. I think everyone else's take on it. Accidentally thinks that Aegon is supposed to be she heard it, And she's going to race off now and go, I heard my husband say Aegon's it. Everyone's going to go, we don't know that. She didn't have her iPhone with her.
This is what happens when you don't change the names of your kids over generations. If you keep repeating the same name over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, there's a warning in that for everybody who's going to be king. Don't name your kids.
Don't fuck your family and don't name them the same people over and over.
You just get so used to it. You just get so used to these Targaryens just marrying off that you get to the point you think, oh, that sounds like a good match. Wait,
right?
The brother is no. None of this
sounds right, but why did it sound so right?
Because in their mind, but again, it's going to come back and bite. It's the classic Game of Thrones world where every decision has a consequence.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a good decision or a right decision that ends up crap. To me, the ultimate bad decision in this, going back, is right. Even though the king was a good king, I agree. He had a good heart. He was a good father. But making his daughter queen and then marrying Alicent was trouble. Like that is where, and particularly making. And we think, oh, Rhaenyra, we love Rhaenyra. We want her to be queen. Of course, we want to be queen. Our hearts with her. But this is not the world of being nice.
Right.
We know Martin doesn't reward people for doing what's right or wrong, just for doing what's smart,
right,
and what is logical and playing the game. And the king, I'm already going back thinking, where did this all start? Because it's now built up. Like every episode, like Andor, it's just building up, and what was it? Is when he said, my daughter's going to be queen, and he's doubled down on that. He did it again in this episode. He keeps doubling down. These are my family. These are not bastards. Anyone who calls my daughter's kids bastards. And I think that's going to be. We're heading now. Now that the king is dead, it's gloves are off, people.
Yeah. I will disagree with you on one thing. I think this all started off whenever he let his wife die for the mutilated baby.
Well, because you could, the truth is that it's guilt that he gave her. I think Rhaenyra the queen.
Well, no, but even think about it. If the mother had not died, Rhaenyra would have naturally ended up being the queen at some point because she was the only lineage, and there would have never been a Millicent. The stuff with the hand would never have been into existence.
But the thing is, if you heard the Maester said, either way, the original wife was gonna die because she can't.
Not for certain, but he kind of. Was he kind of saying this is? It was. Yeah.
And if you go back, like
I thought he said that it was on the baby. It was like the baby is gonna die or the mother's gonna die.
They were saying, like, if I remember correctly, like, you can save the baby, but you can't. You can try saving the baby, but you can't save the wife. Because what are you gonna do with a dead baby inside? They can't. They have to do the C-section, whether the baby lives or dies, because they can't pull it out. So either way, the wife dies.
I thought they would have I thought they would have been able to pull out the baby. Just it wouldn't have been able to pull out the baby alive because it was breached. So there was no way to turn the baby around. So they'd have pulled out the baby by its legs, and it would have just suffocated.
We'll have to go back. We'll have to go back. But anyway, guys, we need to get rolling. My wife is giving me. I'm being told to be in trouble, and I gotta.
Last one. Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night came from nowhere. A surprise packet. Did you guys like it?
Oh yes,
I did. Going back to what I said before with Andor, Disney is throwing middle fingers to the internet, to your perception, to your expectations, and they say, "Oh, you think we're scared of doing some gory stuff? Look, just because we actually want to make sure we do it in a way that people will give us billions, not millions like some of these other people. We want the bees over here. You think we can't do it? Bet. Let me show you. And then they showed us because, I mean, they could have done it with the Scottish guy first, but, the Asian guy, bloodied out the neck. And then all them soldiers right after, slicing and dicing, gave us red blood. They didn't back out and be like, oh, we got to do green like Sony. Nah, they said straight red blood going through. And you know when they even started that? Miss Marvel. Told you. Don't underestimate Disney. Disney reads. Disney is the best evil empire of all time.
There we go. Gift is standing up for Team Disney.
That is the true empire, all right?
Yes.
I loved it.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have much to say that hasn't been said anyway. The setup, the originality of it. My only thing is I wish I'd gone for a full hour and a half. I could have done with a bit more. I could have done with a bit more.
That would have been one where I wanted a feature-length movie on that one. Let it still be on Disney Plus, but give me the full hour, like you said, 90 minutes on it. Because you know who I want to see more of? I want to see more of Man-Thing. Because that was, one, incredible CGI. Two, the coloring was spectacular. And three, showing the devastation of his powers was so dope. Like, I want more Man-Thing. I can take them both together, but I want more Man-Thing.
Well, he's Ted, for your information. His name is Ted.
Right, true story. True story. It is Ted.
It's
but
not,
yeah.
it's Ted.
So I just, I agree. I take my hat off to Disney for going out on a limb, and for Marvel for daring to think outside the box, getting this Hammer horror 1930s look out there, making it look great.
And using real effects. I said CGI, but they used more real effects than they did pure CGI. Or they hit the CGI, real effects, and the CGI was lesser used.
Yeah. I just love this. I love the scene when she's up against, it's in the trailer as well, when Werewolf is kind of up to the girl. She's up against the, in the cage, and she's sitting back like that. And it just looked, and the cameras, it just looked pure Hammer horror. Yes. It just looked like they've absolutely nailed that. And loved all the little characters. I would have liked 90 minutes because I thought some of the other characters, had the Scotsman. The Scotsman everywhere these days. And I would have loved to have seen something more of the other two. I love the guy in what was his Bloodstone, the guy in, the puppeteer thing.
Oh,
I thought that was just it was right out of B movie stuff. That was like so kind of cheapy and stuff. So it just could have gone a bit longer. That's my only thing about it.
I think that's, if you have that as a complaint, same with me. If that's a complaint that you have for your programming, you've done great.
Yeah. So I just hope, again, we've said it right from the start of Phase 4, that Marvel they have to shake things up a bit. They can't get caught up in this cycle. The other concerning thing, getting back to the Blades thing, is that we're setting up here the Midnight Suns. We're setting up these characters, and now Blade is supposed to be. So we've now got Arthur with his sword. We've now got Moon Knight, Werewolf, and now waiting for Blade, and he might be 2-3 years away. So, so that's a little. But anyway, we'll take what we can get at this point.
Absolutely.
Guys, I do need to head off.
All right, man.